Your WavyOcho, I'm gonna react to how biggest biggest beef turned into we about to see.
In the blink of an eye, Nas and Jay-Z went from at least cordial to foes. While hip hop gained a lot from the feud, one of the most iconic beefs ever, a ton of lines were crossed. There are several theories about how the beef between Jay and Nas started. Some say that the reason was the competition between Jay-Z and Nas about who.
Brooklyn, Jay Z, Jay Z rapping Jack in Brooklyn, and Nas from Queens. Nas, Jack in Queens, Brooklyn versus Queens.
The King of New York. Ex-wife of Nas, Carmen Bryan, said that the reason for the beef was that she was cheating on Nas with Jay-Z, but the official ground is that precisely around 1996, Nas more than once failed to be on the recording session of Jay-Z's album Reasonable Doubt, particularly a verse on Bring It On. Producer Ski Beats had to use Nas's line from The World Is Yours on the song Dead Presidents 2, as Nas couldn't make it. The album Reasonable Doubt was released in June of 1996. It was 1996 when Nas was pretty much at the top of his career at that point. Being one of the coolest MCs in the country and one of the most poppin', it was due to his album Illmatic, which was released a few years back. The fact that Jay-Z managed to release his album without Nas felt offensive. And in July, Nas released a second album that was written with the track The Message, which people felt fired shots at Jay-Z. The line Lex with TV sets the minimum is about Jay-Z's affection towards his Lexus. I saw Jay-Z driving a Lexus with the TVs in them. I got rid of my Lexus at that point, and I was looking for the next best thing. It wasn't a shot at Jay, but it was just saying that's the minimum you gotta have. It's not a shot at him, but he inspired that line. It wasn't necessarily a shot at him, but because the song was shot at everybody, he fell into that. But he definitely helped inspire that line. Later, Jay-Z took a sample of Nas' voice again for the song Rap Game, Crack Game, which was a very kind of praise to Nas. But you should take it with a grain of salt because it's not the whole situation. Jay-Z dropped the line, I'm from where dudes pull your card and argue all day about who's the best MCs, Biggie, Jay, and Nas.
Biggie, Jay,
Which is
and
considered
Nas.
to be the official start of the feud. As everybody knows, hip-hop's a competitive place, and Jay-Z's known for his desire to be at the top of that competition. So it was natural that Jay-Z saw himself as the new king of New York, and he supported his claim with The City Is Mine. Right at the beginning of the feud, a third person was welcomed in, Memphis Bleek, who was a signee and protege of Jay-Z of sorts. On Bleek's upcoming album, Coming of Age, the first single, Memphis Bleek Is, looked a bit similar to one of Nas's songs, specifically Nas's Like, but that's not what was intended to be a hit towards Nas. But the track What You Think of That, where Memphis says a few things about the coolness of his team and that they didn't bother to spare time to talk to unworthy people. On that, Nas had an immediate reaction to the track Nostradamus with a few lines such as, I need an encore, y'all. You should welcome me back. You want a ball till you fall, I can help you with that. Memphis took the bait and answered with a very precise diss, My Mind Right, on which he made a few references to Nas' album It Was Written. With a few lines, Memphis Bleek made sure that everybody who listened to the song knew of how little he thought of Nas. Nas fired back with We Will Survive, in which he decided to take a turn on all three members of the Rockefeller crew, Jay-Z, Memphis Bleek, and Beanie Siegel, as well as focus on the deaths of Pac and Biggie. It used to be fun making records to see your response, but now competition is none now that you're gone. All these niggas is wrong, using your name in vain, and they claim to be New York's king. It ain't about that. Memphis Bleek had the song Is That Your Chick, featuring Jay-Z from his second album, The Understanding. Nas's ex-wife, Carmen Bryan, claimed the song to be about her cheating on Nas with Jay-Z. There were still some pretty upsetting things said about Carmen, but there was no diss track that followed that stunt. In 2001, at Hot 97 Summer Jam, Jay-Z made his first move towards Nas and threw a shot at Nas during the freestyle takeover. Right at the end of the track, he dropped one line about Nas, asked Nas he don't want it with Hov, no. Nas took the bait and responded with the freestyle, Stillmatic, in which he ran his mouth about Jay-Z, calling him a bunch of different things, including a fake hustler, a phony, and a liar. Also, Nas questioned whether Jay-Z could really be a king of New York or just a fake. Finally, Nas mocked Jay-Z for using his samples in his songs. It might have been a good day for Jay, seeing how Nas responded and fell into the trap of the freestyle, so Jay-Z returned with Takeover and changed the final verse. It was an official version now. The producer of that version was young, at that time, legendary Kanye West.
So Jay-Z explained that Nas and Prodigy were nothing more than fake thugs that had been lying about their reputation on the streets. After that, he went one by rebutting all the attacks that Nas landed in Stillmatic. Nas said that Jay-Z was a fake hustler. Jay-Z rebutted that by saying that Nas knew nothing about street life because he witnessed it from his folks' pad. Jay-Z added that Nas was so pure that he had never even seen a gun, specifically a Tech 9, which Jay showed Nas while they were touring with Large Professor. About the fact that Jay-Z used Nas' sample, the rebuttal was that while it may be a hot line, it was thanks to Jay-Z that it was in a hot song, not the other way around. It's not just the rebuttal that made the diss song great, but the perspective from which Jay-Z was analyzing Nas' career. He did it from a hip-hop fan perspective. It said that one of the most powerful lines in Takeover was in the third verse, because you know who did you know what with you know who, but let's keep that between me and you, which implied that only 3 people knew what that was about. And it was the bait for Nas. And after such a dissection of Nas' song and career, to the majority of rap fans, it seemed obvious that Nas might have his work cut out for him. But it wasn't in Nas' character to go down without a fight. So on his soon-to-be-released album Stillmatic, he added Ether, the most powerful diss track recognizable in the whole history of hip-hop. First thing, Nas reminded Jay-Z who was in the game longer and got straight to the point that he was doubtful about Jay-Z's street cred, rap, and copying his style. Nas proceeded by saying that Jay-Z was a sellout. After that, Nas ran his mouth even more and said not only Jay-Z was ugly, but also a misogynist, and added a bunch of not so fancy words towards fruity people that you can't really say on YouTube anymore. As a finale, Nas mentioned an affair that Jay-Z had with Foxy Brown, as well as Jay-Z stole his rhyming skills from Biggie, and that even Eminem was better than him in the song Renegade. Ether really struck the nerve of Jay-Z, and he released Super Ugly, which was a freestyle on December 11, 2001 on Hot 97. This track had a lot going on and a lot of pointed lines that were there to just twist a knife in a wound, but it really didn't do too much. What Jay-Z was saying there, that he had a 3-year-long affair with the ex-wife of Nas. Among the listeners of Hot 97 that day was Jay-Z's mother, Gloria Carter. When she heard lines about Carmen and Destiny, she called her son and said that he had gone way too far and he should apologize immediately. Jay-Z obliged and offered an apology while being aired on Angie Martinez's Hot 97 show. I want to apologize to Carmen and any females I may have offended. During an interview in a few years, Nas said, I mean, there was even a moment when Jay was on the radio and, Mom said, chill. His mom, my mom, bless her, was listening. And I was like, wow, our mom was listening. And the fact that he said it on the radio when his mom was listening, that's when I knew we both went too far. Then, on this...
Also, both of their mothers was listening to both of their sons, bro, violating each other, bro. Damn.
November 18, 2001, both Nas and Jay-Z released albums, adding more competition to the beef. Nas was rolling with Stillmatic, that sold 342,000 copies in the first week, and more than 2 million overall. Also, it went number 5 on Billboard 200. Jay-Z would release not so much an official album, but an album nonetheless, MTV Unplugged, hoping to beat Nas in the charts. However, Unplugged sold relatively poorly, ranking at number 20 on the Billboard 200, 15 spots behind Nas. The beef continued, and Jay-Z threw another attack on Nas in the track, The Blueprint 2, in which he claimed to be more generous than Nas and again had some doubts about Nas' credibility. This time, Nas was not doing another diss to the same magnitude as Ether, but concluded the history of beef on The Last Real Nigga Alive. In this track, Nas told a story about historical beefs in New York City with lots of references to Biggie, Wu-Tang Clan, and P. Diddy. He didn't place beef with Jay-Z on the same level as key figures in New York hip-hop history, or rather something more insignificant. Slowly, beef started to die down. Then, on November 30th of 2004, Nas and Jay-Z again released albums on the same day. Nas released Street's Disciple, which was relatively praised by critics and sold more than 232,000 copies in the first week, ranking at number 5 on the Billboard 200. The album went platinum because it shipped 1 million copies 2 weeks after the release date, but Jay-Z released a Collision Course EP alongside Linkin Park that made it to number 1 on the charts, selling around 368,000 copies first week. In the middle of the fall of 2005, Jay-Z headlined a comeback concert, I Declare War, to which he invited a few rappers, such as P. Diddy,
The Lox, and none other than Nas. Nas and Jay-Z officially ended their beef and performed Dead Presidents and The World Is Yours. After that, Nas signed with Def Jam label that was run by Jay-Z at that point, and Jay-Z and Nas worked together on Black Republican, their first song recorded together. Even though the beef was behind them, the race of whose album would score better in the same week would still go on. So on November 6, 2007, Nas and Jay-Z dropped albums again. Nas released his Greatest Hits, which ranked at number 124 on the Billboard 200, and Jay-Z released American Gangster, which took number 1, selling more than 425,000 copies in its first week. But to be fair, does this really count as a Nas album? But even so, I don't believe, even if Nas released an official album, that it was even going to come close to these Jay-Z numbers. The next albums that were released one after another were Nasir, which was way after this, by Nas, and Everything Is Love by Jay-Z and Beyonce. Nasir was produced by Kanye West, and the album went number 5 on the Billboard 200, selling 77,000 in the first week, and Everything Is Love went number 2 with 123,000 copies sold in its first week. And then finally,
On July 19, 2019, Nas released The Lost Tapes 2, while Jay-Z released the soundtrack to The Lion King, The Gift. The Lost Tapes went number 10 on Billboard's 200, and The Lion King, The Gift, alongside the movie, got number 2. But during an interview on The Breakfast Club in 2020, when he asked about how often they would release on the same exact day, Nas had a few thoughts about why he and Jay-Z kept dropping albums with the same release date.
No, I think maybe there's an energy that we both have where we feel like we work around the same time, and then yo, bro, that's a hell of that's some coincidence. I mean, I don't know about that. I think things just happen. It's just synergy, man. Jay would know better than me.
In 2021, Nas is doing an interview with Rick Rubin where he reflected on the beef that was history now. Here's Rick Rubin with Nasty Nas.
Of a diss record or challenge, was that just proof that you were the top guy? What was the feeling of that?
Yeah, it was all of that. And it was like, the art of MCing was right there on full display. It was like, if you're in the rap game, this can happen, a battle. It was like, this rap thing is real. Like, a battle could really happen, So I was honored to have that part of my life happen, because that's how I saw the greats do it coming up. I saw some of the greats do it.
Thankfully now they've worked together more than once, DJ Khaled bringing them on his song just a couple of years ago, and it seems to be the case that they buried the hatchet. It's been over 20 years, they've grown so much in both different ways, and they're definitely both legends that will forever be remembered and heralded within hip-hop.
Yeah, not rap battle, rap beef. Jay-Z or Nas, bro? Let me know, bro. Make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe. Y'all know the vibes. Whoever just checking out, you are.